and then all of a sudden it turns into a Doctor Who episode.
All right.
If they fucking put Daniel Radcliffe, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Are you ready?
Not really, but okay, go for it.
Did you?
Well, actually, you know what? Let me get water. Let me get water real quick.
Go ahead. We're already live.
Do you want anything?
Yes, please. Water.
Okay.
Thank you. We're showing in live time, ladies and gentlemen, what Thomas Hotra does. Podcasting taken so seriously. And also watching the lag that is transferred on YouTube Live. Oh, hello, Podcastlandia. Thomas doesn't know this, but I've slept with his identical twin brother.
Hello?
Yo.
I'm here. All right, cut to Obama and Biden secretly eating a shawarma while Trump fucking files these executive orders. Go for it.
All right, you ready, man?
Go for it.
Welcome to this week's edition of the BODP with myself here, X. As always, I always have friends on and off the podcast. I also have a lot of artists that I've always aspired to meet, but I never truly have gotten the chance to. Actually, this week at last minute, I was supposed to schedule with this guy last week, and then a very important famous artist came in, and I told this guy to go fuck himself. So, I have to say, like, genuinely worrying about life in general and all this other stuff that I was going through like 3 or 4 years ago in Los Angeles. There was a guy at the time that I had met, like Josh Bodwell. I had met Eric, I think his name is Cortez. And then there was this other guy who just posted memes all day before I even knew what a meme was. And it would always genuinely just be like happy, cool about stuff. And then one day I just got a random message and was like, hey dude, do you want to hang out and paint and go grab dinner, you know, maybe have a little bit of butt sex? And I was like, for sure. What was that last one? He was like, yeah, just paint. And it's almost been 5-6 years now. And I have to say, he's turned out to be like not only a brother but one of my best friends. And without this dude, I genuinely would not be where I'm at today. As for the fact that he has always been supportive, he's always been very honest with me. And third most importantly, this guy's cat, all 5 of their cats at their house, drove me to actually get my own place because there was cat hair fucking everywhere. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of my best friends and brothers, Thomas Hotra.
What's going on, buddy? You still got big tits?
Oh, yeah, right here.
Oh, yeah. I can see it right there. Look at that. You're doing a great job, aren't you?
Oh my god.
It kind of reminds me of like fucking Full Metal Jacket, where he's like, "Were you born a fucking fat pile of piece of shit, or did you have to work at it?"
Oh man.
and I just very softly go, "I had to work at it."
How's it going, brother?
How's it going, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Just trying to get some work done for my school right now. And then you hit me up, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm totally fucking down to do a podcast. I don't care."
You were busy working on design stuff for school, or?
Yeah, just working on my personal website right now. Because right now I'm in the home stretch of actually graduating from AI North Hollywood. And then right now, what else? Busy trying to do that, and then trying to figure out where the fuck most of my personal shit, because I moved my room around. So I have more room to paint, but now I don't know where my my personal crap went from my paychecks to like my social security card, and I kind of need that to live. So I'm kind of like wondering where the hell did I put that shit.
I see I see one of your pieces of art in the back, the Full Metal Jacket one, but next to that, I think I see a pair of boobs.
Pair of boobs?
Yeah, were you doing a
Did you
self-portrait?
see my? Are you looking at my boobs or?
I think it's a self-portrait of yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that was actually you. That was actually taken that one time you were falling asleep, and I decided to wrap you in bondage, use you as a reference. I knew that. I knew those secret photos would come in handy one day.
I know, blackmail. You know how to get right.
Not a black male, sir. Not a black male. Or an Asian male.
Yeah, he was Puerto Rican. So let's kind of introduce people to you, man. Who are you, besides a registered sex offender?
But you fit.
Humana.
Yeah, you fit 70% of every like preliminary rape sketches. My name is Thomas Hotra. I've basically done art most of my life. Unlike this fucking asshole right here, picking up art like probably the last half of his life. First time I met him, what 4 or 5 years ago?
About 5 years ago, yeah.
Telling me that he's only been doing art for 2 years, and I kind of pretty much told him to go fuck himself because I'm thinking that I'm gonna learn from a master as opposed to actually somebody that's younger than me. But he turned out to be a great guy and pretty much I started doing art since I was about 6, 7. Basically just kind of copying illustrations or photos that I would find from like everything from like BMX magazines to sports magazines. Anything that was kind of lying around, like Sports Illustrated, swimsuit editions, stuff like that. And then from there, I went from painting. Painting I picked up probably the last 3 or 4 years. I met this guy right here, sitting across from me. BrushesofDoom. He pretty much got me into painting. I mean, we were both opposed to we were both had different ideas. Like he wanted to do watercolor, I wanted to do more something that stood out more, and I wanted to do like acrylic and oil. So me and him kind of like started painting. He got me more into the idea of like expressing my art more and more. He kind of more or less pulled at that thread that I always kind of just scratched at. What else you want to know, buddy?
I know everything about you. Fuck me, I know them. No, but I mean, I think when we first met, yeah, I know you're. It's true because like when I first met you, you're predominantly, and you still are to an extent. I mean, but you were predominantly sketching all the time. Like every time I saw you sketching.
Well, because I always kind of thought I could never get. I never had a solid color theory. I never had a solid color theory because I was tattooing for about 2 years before, like probably 3 years before I met you. I was tattooing for about a year and a half out of my house, just being a basic scratcher, just buying up black inks, the needles, and tattooing anybody that would let me tattoo them. My sister being the main victim of my ideas.
Your sister was here 3 days ago, and she was talking about it too, and she's like, yeah, I used to let Thomas tattoo me all the time. I was like, really? What did he do on you? And she just gave me that look, that hoarder look, where it's looking.
Yeah, no, she has a bunch of unfinished tattoos that I completely regret ever tattooing on her, and it's just like, it just felt like those little ads like people post about like, oh, these poor pet owners tattoo their cat, and you just feel so angry at them. That's how I kind of feel inside myself. Like I'm like, God, this is how they feel. You kind of force somebody into this that didn't want to do it at all.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all 5 cats have bodysuits.
No, they knew how to fight back.
No, but you were predominantly sketching all the time, and I think the thing that always drew me like to hang out more with you was like, one, I didn't have any friends in LA, and you were always like oh, do you know did you ever see fucking Fast and the Furious? That's fucking Dom's shop where they had the fucking tuna sandwich. You ever see the fucking movie Gone in 60 Seconds? That's the fucking bridge. bro.
I love how I turned into the brother from the Triple X movie that just talks about Xander Cage the entire time.
Xander Cage.
You've entered the Xander Zone. Just come. But no, I mean, I predominantly was sketching because I really wanted to get an idea of proportions. Used mainly like life drawing, like seeing people's facial structures, learning how people's hands, like how the different characteristics that made everybody unique in their own way. Because I mean, I could basically start doing a portrait of Benedict Cumberbatch, and then it turned into Michael J. Fox in like the blink of an eye, And then after that, like, I just started kind of pushing myself more and more with like learning portrait study and proportion study, learning different texture concepts like with cross hatching and whip shading and stuff like that. And then when I started hanging out at the tattoo parlor that you worked at, Artistic Element, Artistic Element 2, if you want to be
used to be
correct.
used to be not anymore.
Now it's Black Anchor.
Oh wow! Real quick, Paul Shall Perish is actually a really cool guy that follows on Instagram. He asked you.
I actually got knocked out at an All Shall Perish show. So I'm already dreading this question.
He's how hard did you fall, fat boy?
You remember me, asshole.
No, he asks, like, before all this started, like, all shall perish. Nice. He says, before all this started, what made you want to go and pursue art? Like, before all the meeting anybody and everything else, let's start off as Thomas as a kid.
It's just, for me as a kid, it was just basically seeing how amazing, like, how graffiti looked, how character design came from most of that, the color designs. I grew up in Northridge, so it was basically always a footnote because it was predominantly a more upscale neighborhood before the Northridge earthquake.
California.
California.
Well, no, like, if to anyone that doesn't know where Northridge is at.
Oh, I gotcha. California, eh? Yeah, from Canada, you come to California, you could go to fucking San Francisco to Los Angeles in an hour, eh?
In an hour, eh? Oh yeah, don't you know? No, I mean, you started out there, but as a footnote.
But yeah, no, it's I just started because the graffiti design was mainly the one thing that kind of drew my attention. But the more I kind of got into art, the less I was more interested in graffiti. I was more interested in hyper-realism. Like, I wanted to make something look the way that it looked when you saw it, like on the street, in a picture, in a video. I wanted to have it look that way. And I didn't want to do like a whole character design. I mean, I can do that, but it wasn't it didn't turn into my passion. It didn't turn into something that I was interested in, because it just that's perfect. It wasn't really an idea that I wanted to pursue. I mean, because I started doing graffiti in junior high and high school. I always had people interested in like me doing like letter design and stuff like that. Other characters, doing caricatures of friends, but it wasn't something that I found like enjoyment in, because it was just it was okay, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't trying to push myself because it came predominantly easy. But then when I started in my late 20s, when I started learning hyperrealism through one artist that I really was interested in, Kit King, which you actually interviewed her as well, and it really intrigued me, a lot of the stuff that she said on her podcast. Listening to her and seeing her work done, everything from just elements of water to facial structures, people design, um, the way the body, and how now she does body manipulation, where she has like this one piece where it's a person, just the top portion, and then the neck is stretched over in an arc to another canvas where you see the head. How she's able to manipulate the body, but yet it still looks in the form, it still is in the realm of reality, you know. So it just really, I was inspired by a lot of things, and so.
Well,
But I mean that's been my road pretty much up until about now.
well,
And then
you've always been into like you've always been, I mean, just from a personal observation of you, like you've excuse me, you've always been into Disney, you've been into movies, you've been into a lot of pop culture stuff that, I mean,
my love for Disney though came at a later age as well, because my ex-girlfriend, you know, she always wanted to go to Disneyland, and I was always like kind of wondering. I was like, why this love for Disneyland is such an old age? Like, you know, why Disneyland sucks? You know,
and
I'm
that's
like,
and that's what I'm
it's a
saying
land,
about you now.
it's a land created by a rat. You know, you know. But after about close to, I think, what, 10 years of having a pass, an annual pass here in Los Angeles, going every single day, and you know, one of them, going every single day with her, and going on holidays, you know, having, you know, find a love for Disney at such a later age, um, it really inspired me more and more. And then what my favorite place to go to when we started going, um, was going into California Adventure, because they have this place called the Animation Station,
Hmm.
where they teach you how to do where they teach you how to draw the characters that from your favorite cartoons to your favorite movies to, you know, everything from like Mickey to Jack Skellington to, um, you know, Donald, Goofy, Aladdin. And when we first started there, and I started with friends, you know, I would be making a joke about it, you know, because I would be. Do you remember the movie Road Trip
Oh
with
yeah,
in that scene with Andy Dick? Oh, is it Andy Dick?
Andy Dick. Or are you talking about
The really creepy hotel owner,
yeah, and Andy Dick.
Andy Dick. Whenever he's like painting, he's drawing. Uh, uh, oh God, why am I blanking on all this stuff?
Good job,
Um,
Thomas. Good job.
I know, sorry. He's trying to copy what Bob Ross is doing on television, but it's just all scribbles. It's just him like just scribbling on like this little fucking like 5x7 piece of paper.
God fucking
And
damn
I,
it.
I would be sitting in the animation station, just doing like just big long like drawn out like sketches, and they would still look good. And I remember my ex going, "You fucking suck. You're good at everything." And I'm like, "What?" You know, because I would just be making like this big like um this big like scene, because you could hear me scratching in the room, like you can hear
The carving into the table.
you know, so everybody looked at me like that Men in Black scene where he's just like dragging the table across the floor. You know, and then I
You
just
want to get
start
up on
flipping.
this?
You know, and it looked good. I mean, it would be dark as hell, but I mean, it looked nice.
Well, for anyone that's not familiar with like what he's talking about, if you're not from California or from Florida or wherever the hell there is a Disneyland, I didn't even know this existed. That people from Southern California actually have Disneyland passes. That there's different tiers. You buy them and you can go. I mean, if you have the highest tier, you can go whenever you want. If you and then as the tiers go down, you can't go certain days or whatever. When I first heard this dude having a pass, I was like, why the fuck would you want to go to Disneyland? I
You
personally,
you're introducing me to Chris Hansen. You're already like thinking like I'm America's Most Wanted. You're
yeah,
like, yeah.
exactly. The one friend I make in Los Angeles, and of course he's a pedophile. Um, But
He's from Hollywood. He's from Hollywood. They don't travel far.
no, but at the same time, is like this is the guy too that this is the guy that when he would tell me about it, because I've never been in California Adventure till this day. I've never been in there. And he would tell me about this animation station, and I would be like, well, what are you doing there? And he's like, well, you go in and you draw and they talk to you. And he goes, I'll go in there, and I've gone in there enough times that I will sketch better than the person teaching. And I mean, humbly, he was like, I'm not saying I'm better than the person, but I'm letting them know that I'm better than the person at the moment. And I was like, all right. So you go in there with a bunch of 6-year-olds and you just shit on their dreams. He's like, yeah, yeah.
Basically, yeah. Just like the same. This is the same reason why I go to my junior high. You have to be the toughest bully. I'm still the toughest bully in my junior high. I have to maintain my rep,
So before you actually got into the Disney thing, your sister, and I'm assuming some of your friends at that age, you were always driven by like pop culture, like movies and so forth, music as well.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
well, absolutely.
so what? I mean, because you and I click on so many effects. Like, was it kind of the same thing as where
Well,
movies kind of?
that touches on what you were saying before, where I was making memes that just covered basic like great movie quotes, or stuff like that.
Yeah, I still excuse me. I still remember at on Instagram, I still didn't know that you could have followers, and I don't know how. I don't
No,
know
seriously.
how did you find me from Instagram? Because you and Josh found
I
me
think
around the same time.
I think I was drawing I was drawing out a Rocketeer thing. Oh no, it was the week before Dark Knight Rises, and I had bought a Bane mask, and I was just going through Instagram because my ex had bought a Bane shirt with Dark Knight Rises, and I just kind of like randomly searched through the tags, and we came across your Bane piece that you had done in graphite, and I was like, oh my fucking god, this is amazing! Like, this is fucking tight as shit. And then I started going through all your movie art, and what really kind of drew me to a lot of your stuff was your Rocketeer piece, because Rocketeer was probably my childhood like favorite fucking movie
Oh
like
yeah,
of all time.
the chewing gum.
Even though the guy from it is from that Jennifer Lopez movie Enough, where people were like, he's a fucking dickhead,
Yeah, he's never done. He's never done anything that's ever been redeemable in this life. I'm like, but he saved.
Oh.
He beat the Nazis.
Seriously, it was him and Captain America right there on the front line. But and then because for my love of Disney, that also kind of spawned into that as well, because that movie was like what the first Disney movie that had Nazi propaganda in it, stuff like that. So it was like always an interesting movie because you would touch on it. You could touch on it through any like through any kind of idea, and like Disney was like the first to do a lot in that movie. It was like the first for them.
I think the funny thing was Dick Tracy a Disney movie.
Dick Tracy was I think it was Warner Brothers, wasn't it?
That or Amblin. I remember it's one of those two. I mean, it had a Warner Brothers feel to it, but
Yeah.
Dick Tracy and the Rocketeer were two things for me that was like a fine line between extremely dark but very bright colors. You know, and
absolutely. I always wanted to fucking be Dick Tracy. I remember that was another one too.
Oh God, honey, he's wearing my blouse again. It's a yellow trench coat. No,
it was Touchstone. My bad. I'm sorry.
All right, Touchstones.
Yeah, it was nice enough for nice of us to do research before this podcast.
Oh, of course, of course. See, I've been trying to get this guy on a podcast for a long time to do one. We have another one. Well, I have another one called Damn It Steve that I've been trying to get him on, but this guy, unlike myself, actually has real goals in life and is doing school, doing a full-time school, full-time job, and full-time artist. I admire him for that. So if you do enjoy what you're hearing, then make him feel bad, not me. But
well, I'm full time. I'm full time a lot of things, but yet you don't realize that a lot of suicide notes are written at late at night, just kind of questioning what am I doing with my life.
you have all 5 cats trained in
Yeah,
calligraphy. I
they're
said
all
no
they're all they're,
Sanskrit.
they're all there with the paws on my shoulders, like it's okay. They're the ones petting me.
One of them's guiding the hand. No, but so
Just
at
let
that
him do
so,
it.
so at this point, I mean, like before you start getting into the art aspect of it, I know for a fact, like when I started off, I would sketch here and there as a kid, but I don't know why I would always draw Spider-Man or I would draw Batman. I think it was just
because
because,
you always like to throw your jizz everywhere, or what?
yeah, especially in second grade, that was my favorite pastime. No, but the thing was, is like because Spider-Man has the most essential look for a human head, as to where
Oh yeah.
Batman has the most essential thing for a cowl. But I couldn't get past the first, like, let's just say 5-10 minutes of sketching and sculpting, so I'd get bored of it, whatever. So like movies and music became the catalyst that made me appreciate art. Was it kind of the same way for you, or was it something that you were kind of like, because you always said when we first started hanging out, you were like, oh, I always have a sketchbook. What you did, we would go to we would go to Barnes and Nobles
Barnes and Noble.
at,
Barnes. Well, that was like when we did.
the Grove.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, that was the Americana. We went to the Barnes and Noble there, and we did it was me and you did like a Ghostbusters collab
Yeah,
on my first sketchbook.
and we would
Well,
do,
the one that I had with you.
yeah, we would go back and forth. But you had always said that you were sketching off and on, off and on, off and on. So was physical art a big thing of it, or did it kind of come in time and accumulate? Like,
It came in time. It came in time and accumulated
mhm.
after a while. Because again, like, I started playing music when I was about 15, and I mean, I still did art at that time, but being in bands and touring and playing shows every weekend, going to shows, like being like a. I was never in a band with a tour manager, so it was like everybody that can book shows. Let's book shows, So sometimes I'd get on sometimes we'd be on 2 shows a night and stuff like that. But um, the art was still there, but it came a lot later. When I got into art school, it came a lot later. Like where I was sketching every single day and trying to at least get something out. Um, just trying to get the more or less the ideas from inside my head. Like that was kind of inspiring me. And one artist that I actually follow, that was kind of like, emphasizing that whole, sketch every day, a sketch once every day, was actually a DreamWorks artist called Zorro Rodriguez.
Yeah, I know
He
that.
was, I actually met him just this last year through a teacher from my school that actually works at DreamWorks. DreamWorks, and she was able to kind of bring him in and talk. But I'm there like all starstruck, this artist that no one else has heard of, and I'm just like, you're really cute, kind of thing.
Wait, you said
I don't know how to convey myself and shit.
you kept saying he and then she. I thought it was a woman.
Oh no, this is Zorro Rodriguez is the artist. The teacher that kind of brought him in was a she.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, that's what she told me.
one of the questions was asking, what kind of music influenced you to do art? Well, what kind of music influenced you guys to do art? So, during that time, I guess, because I know like a lot of artists now that when you talk to them, they're like, "Oh, well, I listen to this and it helps me paint." Or was there a specific music you're playing and or listening to that still gets you in the mood?
The one that gets you in the mood. I think the girl from Ipanema. That whole tall and tan and young.
Mm.
Actually, no. Music wise, I'm very limited. I'm very limited on that. Movies mainly. Like when I'm coding a website or um, painting something. I usually have soundtracks for everything from like Tron Legacy, because I love Daft Punk. But like the way they did that whole score was amazing. the Watchmen soundtrack as well, like that. Maybe Sucker Punch. So it's like it's a variety of music that I would paint to, but I would mainly always have a movie or like a television show playing in the background, just hearing like their scores or the music that they play, for that for those scenes that kind of get me in the ideas.
So you played music for a while, and then you started getting into art and design. And I think you had briefly spoke. I won't go too much into detail, but like you had said that there was like a point in your life where you kind of just hit this wall, and then you realized like, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do, because you had that specific what is it, pitchfork in the road moment where
Yeah.
you were kind of going one way. Everything changed in a moment, and you were like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and this is kind of where you're at now.
Yeah.
What what was it like? Because I know that you hear a lot of people.
It was. Well,
Well,
I mean, I've talked to this probably to a numerous people, but I mean, it sparked with my ex. It sparked with that. I mean, I'm not gonna say that she was a bad person, but she kind of inspired me to become something better. Because again, like we broke up, we became two different people. It wasn't a bad breakup, um, but we just became different people. But she, like, before she left, she kind of like, you know, told me, that I needed to kind of do more with myself, and find myself. And, we had been dating for about 8 to 9 years. And, yeah, it kind of spawned from there. Like that was the inception, that all it took, that was the top spinning around in my brain, where it's like, yeah, I need to do more, because all I'm doing is just kind of sitting around, because I was working for I was playing music, I was playing every weekend, but I was kind of stuck, like I'm not, and I wasn't doing much. I was hanging out with friends every weekend, and just kind of staying in this rut where it's like, okay, well, when's the next show? Next weekend, this and that. Um, and I was working for the city, and I'm still working for the city. I'm only working like part time at that time, where I was, it was what, 16 to 20 hours a week, where, so what am I doing the rest of the time? I'm just sitting on my ass and waiting for, you know, where we're gonna hang out next. Like, okay, kind of thing. Because I don't do drugs, I don't drink, and I don't do anything like that. So I mean, art was what filled my free time. But then, what if it's the only thing that fills my free time? Then it's not really free time. It became more and more. And when she left, and then I kind of focused on myself, I saw that I kind of had a knack for it, but kind of kind of pull at this thread more, because I only had I only could see down this tunnel, like with I can only see down this tunnel. I couldn't see the end of it. Like, I was like kind of walking down this tunnel with like a flashlight that didn't work, and I can only kind of get a sense of everything with art wise, with drawing, with painting. And because when I tattooed, I was like, yeah, I could do this. But the more I pulled at the art thread, the more I realized there's so much more to look at. There's so much more to be into. There's so much more to take on, because when I first met you, when you're painting, when I saw you painting something, I'd always question you, why you're doing this, why you're doing that. And then sometimes I know the answer. So most of the time it's going to be just because it fucking works that way, but
yeah.
I want to know why. I want to know, I'm always somebody that's going to ask questions, and even like with web coding, like, some of my teachers just go, it just fucking works that way. It's a rabbit hole that you could just go into. It's just a technique that I learned, it's just the way that I live.
How does
That's all.
Adobe Flash work? It just works, fat boy. No, but I mean,
Why are boobs good? Why is boobs good? It just does. It just does.
Bobby Boucher.
When you're down, stare at a clown.
I'll see you in another 20 years. Hey, come back, you're grounded. Uh, um, did music come easily to you? When you played, did you figure things out, or did you have like a
Yeah,
real knack for music?
absolutely. Like I played in high school, and I probably have been playing for 16 years, but it just came really easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
my dad says it runs in the family. I mean, he doesn't play an instrument, but his dad did. But learning from just everybody that I could pick up from, it came pretty easily.
Well,
It came pretty.
I think that's what happens. I mean, same thing for myself is you made a good point of like you look at art when you first get into it, whether you'd be a painter or sketcher or whatever it may be, and I think you have the notion of just like, well, that's it. You're just gonna draw a stick figure. Like it's not that hard. I can draw. I'll try and draw a face. I can draw a flower. Be
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. I'll be.
Hold my beer. I got this.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it.
I don't know. You went that way.
Roger Rabbit, nice.
Let's
Um,
go.
um, but I think the thing is that a lot of people don't talk about. I mean, it's an interesting thing from a musician to musician that became artist to artist. When you have that idea or the specific ideals of like being, oh wow, like I can listen to anything drum wise, whether it be like in a polymeters or if it's in 5/4, 7/8, I can
Yeah,
figure it out. But
absolutely.
when it comes to art, it's like you have that notion that you're already able to pick something up, and then it just hits you like a fucking brick wall because you're like, oh my
Yeah,
god, I can't do this. I can't draw like the number one thing I always tell everybody is like, what's the worst thing I can draw? Or people will ask like, what's the worst thing you can draw? And I say hands. They look like dick fingers, and it's always the same thing. They're dick
oh yeah,
fingers.
all the way. Yeah.
You remember when the story of when Game the rapper was at the shop, and the guy came up to me, and this big 7 foot dude comes up, and he's just like
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
when Peter was tattooing him, and he was just like, hey yo, what you drawing, dick fingers? And I looked over, I was like
Yeah, they're dick fingers.
yeah, whatever you say,
You should
boss.
see how we pee.
Scary Movie 3, nice. um but I do believe that. Like, I think that a lot of people, when if you come from a background artistically where you already have enough time and effort put in, I think it's interesting to see how people tend to think about art. Like, if you were an artist that wanted to draw and paint since you were little, you don't think of it as years of work. You just think of it as fun. As to where, as musicians, you spend years playing, but you're literally playing a song. And you're like, fuck yeah. As a bass player, you were playing. Like, you could listen to something like from La Bamba all the way to Maxwell Murder from Rancid, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, one day all of a sudden,
that solo took me like 3 months to learn.
and
Just that solo alone.
but that thing alone is like, once you get that down, you're like, aha, I got it, and you move forward.
Yeah,
And you don't really have those moments in art where like one day you just draw a hen, you're like, aha. Like you said, you start drawing something, and all of a sudden, you have Tom Cruise, and you're like, all right, and then you just do a tiny bit of shading, and it looks like Morgan Freeman. You're like, what the fuck?
no, it looks like Ben Stiller. Like it's not that far off. Like, oh crap.
But I do think that that's an interesting idea of like how
Well,
you
I mean,
get a misconception of it.
yeah, that's where I run into with a lot of people where they ask me to help them teach them do things because again I had about two students under me about a year ago, like where I was teaching them on and off through Skype or they would come down to the school and I would teach them. Um, and they get so frustrated. And I remember when I started out and I would get so frustrated because I couldn't get this eye right or I didn't understand like lip shading. I didn't understand how the darker lip, how the top lip is just a little bit darker than the bottom lip, or sometimes you would have or when it's vice versa, stuff like that, or learning how to do if somebody had like a cleft palette, like oh god, what's the name that played Johnny Cash. What's his name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, like something like that, where you have a cleft palate, so it's a different lighting that you'll have on the upper lip, and they get so frustrated, and they just kind of like, well, how can you just get it? And I'm just like, because I worked at it, and worked at it, and then you start understanding like where lighting falls, where shadows are cast, and where how this is reflected out, what's brought more forward.
Yeah, and it's true. It's like sometimes you just have to figure it out. Like I've had this conversation a few times on here about Neil Adams and Scott Snyder's and another one, but like just people that I've heard on like Fat Man on Batman. Like I never used to listen to podcasts. I never knew anything about them until this guy right here. This dude was the one that got me into it, and that's literally was like the only thing that gave me solace during those. Like, ask him. Thomas knew me at the time where like all I would do was paint all day, work fucking some shitty hours, and then I would like just work and paint all night. And podcasts were, I mean, even the one to where Mark Hamill was talking to Kevin Smith, and he was like, I used to work on this little theater on Melrose and Gardner, and I was like, oh my god, that's right next door, the place with the no sex sign. And I was like, oh my god.
You get all super excited. I'm like, it's not like it's still open the way it used to be, man.
He was here 40 years ago.
There's some guy just there cleaning like jizz off like windows. You're like, yep, this is not the way it used to be. Fucking scruffy.
It's scruffy dude, it's scruffy dad. But no, it's true though. It's like, when you introduce me to the podcasting, it's like I heard that one with Kevin on Fat Man on Batman, and a lot of the pros always say like, don't listen to people, even if they're your friends. Don't listen exactly to what they tell you to do artistically, because it seems counterproductive. It almost seems to some people like you're trying to be closed-minded. But he says, you're gonna learn a certain way. And it wasn't until I heard recently on God damn it, what's his name? Joe Rogan's podcast with Black Flag, Henry Rollins. That was a great one. That's a great guy that's just, he knows who he is and where he's at. But he had mentioned, and it's the same thing that kind of Neil Adams was talking about, and it's like, if you artistically are trying to do something and you're trying to push yourself, sometimes you only get to where you're going to be because of the mistakes you make or the shortcuts you take. A shortcut sometimes to people seems like a cheating way, but he goes, think about when you're climbing a mountain. If you take a shortcut and there's no road, you're probably going to have to climb something or risk fucking up, or risk ruining your life or breaking something. And he goes, but if you want to survive, you got to make that work. And he goes, as an artist, whether it be a writer, whether it be a painter, whatever it may be, he goes, you're going to take risks and shortcuts, and not all of them are going to work. Some of them will, some of them won't. And he goes, if people are always dictating what you should do, then you're never going to truly find your little niche and path. Now, if you find something that works for you, then take in things, and you got to take it in quarters,
Yeah.
Start listening to here, start listening there, and let it kind of go back and forth. Don't be shut off to suggestion, but don't take everyone's word for face value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot of. I can say I learned a lot of that from you, because when we would be painting, you would ask a lot of questions. But in all truth, and it still holds till today, you're an amazing sketcher, and you have outstanding. I've talked about it with many podcasters on here about your composition. Your composition, hands down, is some of my favorite I've seen, close to Vlad Rodriguez and Paul Shipper. I genuinely love how it is. Paul and I were talking about you, and it was like, how to just take this image and you can tell a story like that. And it's not even a lot, why add 20 characters? And you're like, I don't know, here, put that there, done. I'm like, God damn it. But you have this knack to you, as to where like you were trying to learn how to paint, and vice versa. I was someone who could paint to stencils and learn value and color theory. Like I learned the really technical stuff. You had the basics down, and then when it came to technical, you were trying to learn more. When it came to basics, I got dick fingers. you know.
Well, I mean, with composition, I learned that from school, man. Like and then that was a lot of the reference that you kind of set me up with, and then I would go to my school, and then I'd ask questions even more from my layout design teachers, my layout design like that had been in the industry for so long, and they kind of like walked me through it. I worked for BLT and Communications, which those were that company alone are a monster when it comes to movie posters, and I always ask them questions of like why they did the Sin City posters, which they have one where it's all like slanted down, where you see the cityscape that kind of it goes from like the people and it goes down into like the building wise, and I'm like, well, why does it do that? Because it's just showing you how large the city feels, even though it's such a small city. Like
Perspective.
there's so many, there's perspective of so many stories in this city are so large. They're so much more larger than the city is.
And I think, I mean, that's a huge thing. Like, I'm not a person that's traditionally educated, and this stuff. I try to learn as much as I possibly can
Well,
from whomever.
neither am I, but it's just having to ask the questions. Though.
But you're a mixture of both. You're somebody who's not necessary. Like, you go to school for this stuff, but on top of that, you do go outside the box and you try to learn as much as you possibly can. And I think that's the reason why I've used you and a few other friends as like very, very good examples of like who I look up to,
Don't forget sexual partners as well.
So. Oh yeah, of course. But but the thing is like, never be afraid. Like, if I could afford it, I would go to school. I would love to go to Pasadena to the Will Weston studio.
But believe me, man, as much as people say like I wish I could afford it, I just go, you're going to be paying for things for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
Might as well just start now and just, think about it when you get done and think about where you're going to be, after you're all done.
But you know what I mean by afford. It's not necessarily price, it's time. And the thing is, like, I can't afford the time, as to where I've put myself in a position where I get lucky by having the time to make with other artists via the podcast, via traveling, and via friends. You have a great opportunity, but like you said, you're right. There are nothing but excuses that I could say rather than just trying to get up and go do it. But you do have very much an ability to push forward, and you learn. You've learned a tremendous amount of digital art. You've learned physical. I mean, to the point of like, this is a guy, to everyone listening, that legitimately said that he's like, my sketching or my painting is not where it needs to be. But this dude goes over and then starts taking a paint class, and now he's teaching people, in his paint class, how to paint. And on top of that, teaching them color theory. Then you did a, what is it called? A plein air painting. You did one of a tree. Looked fucking amazing. And you're like, I've never done it before. But you have that technical skill behind it, and I've seen you develop over the time. Has a lot of that come from school, or has a lot of that come from your off time? Because your off time as well, without talking about your personal life, like, your off time is busy. You have all day that you're doing stuff, and then you have this small window before sleep, like the 2 hours you get, and you're painting and you're drawing.
Basically,
yeah. You literally, like, you're the one guy I know. Like, it's like looking into Ghost of Christmas Past, except I'm fatter. And
oh no, not even, man. It's a challenge. Challenging right now.
But I mean, like, you're literally up at what, 4:00 in the morning to be at work.
Yeah.
And then you're all the way to work. You're out at 10. Then you go to a school all the way to like 7. You do your homework. Then you have your TV on, and then you're just straight to painting, and then back to bed.
Yeah, basically, and then just start all over again the next day. And then I've been doing that for 10 years. So it's like, well, with school wise, I've been doing it for about 4. So I mean, I've just gotten used to it. Just like grinding it out. Because like it's not trying to, for me, it's not trying to find something where I just kind of where I blow up with an idea. It's more or less trying to like grind out and walk in all these ideas and getting getting a texture design right, getting color theory right, because I want to be able to kind of sit there and be able to map out and look at something and know exactly the path I need to take to achieve this. And then if I stumble through it, if I get lost, I'll know how to kind of, make my own path back to, where it needs to be, over time. And then with school wise, it's a lot of taking on. It was basically taking on everything that people have taught me outside of that and bringing it here to school. Like when I did visual design and visual drawing, I could sit there because I had been doing it for so long, and I sat there and I had the teacher kind of asking me like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, and then basically I'm giving her ideas on how to do pieces beyond here. And that's basically learning from everybody that I had outside of this, that I've met through you, that I've met on my own time. And then when it came to painting, it's everything that like people have taught me that started painting, from Brushes of Doom, you sir. Sorry to fucking slob on your knob there. From
Keep
another
going.
person.
I didn't say stop. Keep going.
Adam Padilla is another good painter that I love. That his movie design with alone is something that inspires me.
We used to drool over his shit, and I remember because when we were looking at this stuff, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. He was my very first interview.
Yeah.
And I remember when you first came out, your style at first was very heavily influenced by his, but it was not a direct replica. And I remember asking you like about that, and then I remember asking him about that, how he felt, and you both gave me the best answer about that. I asked you, go, how do you feel you can get away from that style and call it your own, and you were like, you know what? Honestly, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to get tired of doing one thing, and I'm going to keep going. That's all I can do. I like the guy's stuff. And Alan looked at Adam looked at your stuff, and he goes, I really like it. It's clean. And he goes, does it look like mine? He goes, could be. He goes, but my stuff is just a cheap imitation of someone else's. He goes, who the fuck owns art, man? If it's done well, do it well. And he genuinely liked your stuff. And that was a really cool moment. I mean, for me, because I was looking at your stuff and I was like, all right, he's going to take a painting. He's just, he's going to get the hang of it. And out of nowhere, you were like, masterpiece. And it was a piece, son of a bitch. I'm about the business. Oh, Pepino. So you were, so you said who was the first person?
You.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, absolutely. You had Adam, and then you had Adam. Who else?
It was you, Adam.
Well, Drew. Drew was one of them.
Drew is one of them. But I mean, I'm talking about. Yes, we look at those. We look at those people now are the modern day masters. But then that's not somebody I can actually reach out to and get techniques and ideas from. Like where you, Adam, who else? Kit King, her husband, I forget his name, was
Corey.
Hotra. where they upload these really short. Another one as well. Hold on, trying to remember his name.
Well, Tony was another one too, because Tony was doing a lot more. Tony Skelpick
Tony Skelpick.
Yeah, was all his pencil drawings back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God, Tony Skelpick too. Tony Skelpick was one of like the major people where I'm like, wow, okay, you can actually go and just kind of redo a character and make it your own, like where it looked amazing, like the stuff that he kind of elaborated on, where he could do things from like Suicide Squad to the animated Batman series to to other movie concepts that he took and just kind of made it his own, and they looked amazing. Another artist that I really have gotten into recently with painting wise is Gustavo Ramada.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking with you too when you were at Artistic Element, because you had his Snow White piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, my God, that's like one of my, you had all this art at that place, and that piece was like the one thing that I couldn't get over.
If no one knows who that is right off the bat, that's Arte de Gustavo. He's a very, very awesome artist. I mean, does beautiful stuff. I mean, it's like a really nice blend of Hispanic inspired culture art, Diego Rivera kind of colors, but very much his own style, and acrylic. I mean, just so smooth. And I was put in charge of an original that was bought by an artist I used to work for, and god damn it, was that the worst feeling in the world, because everybody and their mother wanted to touch that thing. And I think the only I don't think I know the only person, like, I wasn't supposed to let anyone even look at it, and the only person I actually ever let touch it was you, because you were like you were seeing the textures, but it was, yeah, I mean, oh god, the fucking stupid shit we did.
Well, because you had no other choice, I was gonna touch it either way.
Come on, don't do it. No.
It was either that or my dick.
Paul Shall Perish again asks, so what is your main style of art that you can say is your strongest or best type that you can do? Let's break that up into two questions. What's something when at that time when you were starting to become more influenced by, like, Kit when she was doing primarily graphite drawings, Tony when he was primarily doing it on top of his tattoo, Gustavo with his like fantasy series, and who was that first guy again?
Me? No, was it me?
No. He was really handsome.
Really
handsome.
Diego Rivera.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes.
my father.
Yes.
It was Brushes of Doom, everybody. You've come to this podcast. If you don't know him, then you should.
What was your main style that you felt you were strong at and were trying to achieve then, let's say 5 years ago, and where is it now as far as what you feel is your best and what you're trying to achieve?
Graphite was probably my best. Even then it was still kind of a struggle, and then when I started adding on to it, were like layout design and stuff like that, where I could elaborate on just very small pieces, where I could just have a very minimal portrait, where I could just work on the portrait over and over and over again and kind of get it sharp as possible, that I could just go off on my own and learn and kind of do something that's a little bit messy, but a little bit nice, where it kind of brought in the characters. Yeah, I mean, graphite was probably the best, because again, I could work at any size. Like, I can work from large scale pieces to something like very small, like where it's just something in a sketchbook. Because and then when I started painting, painting wise, what was the question for the second one? Painting wise?
No, just like, where were you, like, who were your biggest influences, and what did you feel like was your strongest suit artistically 5 years ago? And then who do you feel, or what do you feel is your strongest now 5 years later, and what are you aspiring to do 5 years later?
My strongest still is graphite. I'm always kind of laying things out on graphite, because from that, as much as I love painting, as much as I love, doing everything that way, I still kind of am rooted where I learned everything the best. Because, like, when it comes to like layout design, when it comes to concept art, I'm there, with pencil and a piece of paper, trying to kind of elaborate an idea as much as I can. And even if it comes from, even if it turns out to being a painted out piece, even if it comes to something that I've thrown into Photoshop, it would be something that I sat and I drew out way before anything.
So, do you feel that, like, graphite being your strongest thing, do you want to move away from graphite and push more into paints, or do you kind of feel like graphite's like always going to be like the solid ground that you fall on?
This past year, I kind of moved away from graphite and I started using ink. I started like drawing out everything ink wise, and I think I'll probably start elaborating on that more and more, because it kind of helps me know texture wise a lot more, because now it's kind of it forces you, well, it forces me to learn texture a little bit better, because then again, like with ink, it's either in or it's not, because again with pencil you can erase and kind of go over a piece a little bit there, a little bit there, and then kind of get it just right. But with ink, it's either you have it or you don't. It's either you have the idea of it, and then you just go from there. Because what I started doing a lot of ink pieces on tone paper, um, and that kind of like helped with like a medium tone, and then I could actually go in with I'll go in with like my lineup with like a big pen or something like that. So it's just a cheap little thing, and then kind of elaborate on tonality and structure, and um, like cracks in maybe a skull or something like that, or the fabric of like the texture of someone's like coat, uh, the wave of their hair. You have to be able to kind of figure out where to take this, where to kind of elaborate more and more on just a certain point in in a piece, and then you can then I would come in with like a charcoal or a white pen, and then I would start laying out highlights, which would help bring out the piece.
Right. Um, so is your is your goal? Because I know there are some artists that like to have like seasons or series. Like, do you see yourself doing a series and then moving forward and trying to do maybe like just graphite? Because I've seen you do pen, I've seen you do graphite, charcoal, and then oil a lot. Are you just kind of mix and matching right now?
I'm actually majorly mm, I really do a lot of mixed media. I do a lot of mixed media. So I don't see myself veering away much in the next 5 years or anything like that, because every element that I've ever brought in has its own flair, its own kind of its own kind of element in a piece, like from everything from charcoal to pen to pencil, from oil paintings to pastels to even just using acrylics or even a Sharpie marker. It's able to bring out its own element in a piece, because again sometimes you're not able to get, you need a really dark tone. Sometimes you'll bring in a pastel, sometimes you bring in a marker. It's either you need a flat black or something that's alive. So everything has its own element. I mean, doing mixed media has been such a really major thing from a lot of artists that I've looked at, and it just I could see that everything that they've used in a piece, it has its own play, you know.
I'm listening to the dogs in the background.
Yeah. Oh, the dog's over here. Did I close the window? I didn't close the window. Son of a bitch.
No, it's fine.
Hold on. But then again, I have my neighbor that yells at them. So let me close the window real quick.
I mean, it's been going on for an hour. Okay, as he's walking away and you can't hear me right now, anyone on Grindr?
I'm back.
Art by Thomas Horta. Look him up at Art by Thomas Horta. I was giving them their Instagram handle.
I can hear it. I hear it too. It's like, it sounds like you're signaling in for a bomb run or something.
um, what like when you were talking about how you had like preconceived notions of art, um, what's something like going into techniques, like what's something you've learned tremendously from like school wise, like design, versus like practical application? Because when you're designing, like for anyone that's ever curious about it too, you're more than welcome to hit him up. If you're looking at somebody who can build an amazing website and or do code, I know that's not primarily the thing he always wants to do, but genuinely,
but I can do it.
He can do it extremely well. He showed me my website before I actually redid it, and it was a legit one. And I was like, wow, like it's an artist knowing what an artist needs.
I'm kind of glad it inspired you. I mean, as much as I hate, what is it? What are you using?
Wix.
Wait, Wix?
Yeah.
I mean, but I think I'm glad it kind of inspired you to actually use Wix the way it should be used. Because again, with Wix, they're very limited on what they do. You know.
But like you have like, so from a design point of view, you have like a preconceived notion of like what you think should be done, and then you learn something, and that strengthens you as an artist. From a design point of view and a physical point of view, what are some things you've learned that have helped you grow as an artist?
Say that again, man.
God.
Look at me like I'm a child and simplify it.
Want some candy? No, like what's something that you thought like would work in art, like something you always did, like a bad habit? Let's just say let's name it like a bad habit.
Something that kind of changed me for the better.
Yes, exactly. From a design point of view, and then also like when you're physically doing it.
From a design point of view, it helped me kind of focus in on like a square inch of space. Like it helped me look at a piece in general, and kind of you're able to look at like the retina of an eye as opposed to kind of like the eye itself. You're able to look at like the way the light comes off of it, the way hair, how you kind of taught me this one where it's like you're not drawing hair, you're drawing the spaces in between the hair. And I never thought about it that way, but then I was like, oh shit, this actually fucking works like really well. And then I started like, elaborating on that more and more. With painting wise, learning texture study, where, sometimes, sometimes going off and doing your own thing with painting wise is always the best thing. Like when I have a piece up right now that I did for my one of my painting finals. I did a Death Eater that was very strongly. I will probably get a lot of people telling me this. Very strongly reminiscent of Zachary Dunn, but I tried to kind of make it my own piece. Trying to make it like a Death Eater kind of thing. But learning where making texture with, a really old brush that would been kind of seen better days, and grabbing it and kind of I forgot the term that was called, like scuffling. Like I always thought scuffling was like
scumbling.
Scumbling, yeah. I always thought scumbling was just a stupid term like people would use when like people walking in drunk. But when my art teacher told me that the texture I was using on it was called scumbling, I was like, oh, I never knew that, but it's just kind of, I never knew that, and I never done it before. I never learned it from anybody, but it's like I was learning new strokes, learning texture study through painting and wise. That's basically like where I've kind of found the strength, kind of just going off on my own with painting, with art and stuff like that. And again, it's learning from people. It was as much as I learned on my own. I had really great teachers. I just had really great teachers, from everything from outside of people that learned from formally, like you and a group of tattoo artists that were able to kind of take me on as apprentices, even though like I wound up, again, not going into a tattoo career so early. But I mean, kind of using the techniques that they showed me, the knowledge that they gave me, and then kind of bringing into an environment where people were formally trained in graphic design, were formally trained on how things are laid out, were formally trained on like their own color theory and what kind of ideas will convey, even before the images are laid out. And kind of bringing those two together have really strengthened each other.
Yeah. The amount of shit that you've helped me learn as an artist over the years, even all the way down to like from tattooing to drawing to painting. I mean, I had no car at this time in my life. I was living on your couch for a while, then on your floor until I could afford to rent a room.
Then you were wearing some of my pants one day, and then I was like, "What the hell?" And they were like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll give you your underwear back. I had to dig a little."
Well, Thomas, what's that? I'm hitting them like starch them up.
I just remember coming home from school one day and it turned into Single White Female, where everyone's just kind of sitting around eating dinner, and I'm the one showing up. Like,
so yeah, get a job today? Yeah.
So Thomas, what are you doing here? I just walk in and I'm like, "What? You and my mom, and my dad, and my sister eating dinner?" I'm sorry, it's all gone.
Yeah. Oh, so that's how it is. The amount of shit we would get into, I mean, like genuinely, and it wasn't even like bad things. It was just like funny and spur of the moment because you were very much an outgoing kind of artist. You're an outgoing person. You're very funny. You genuinely are like you're one of the top 5 people in my life. And I can say that with confidence because you've never ever bullshitted me when it came to trying to do better. Even when you knew that like maybe it was just something that my head was stuck into, you would say it. And you still do. I mean, there's times where I know you want to say something and I'm like, what's on your mind? And you're like, well, you're a fat piece of shit. I'm like, yes, I am. But I mean, it's also one of those things that I learned that, when we started hanging out more, we would go to Disneyland. We'd go to the art gallery and I would look at like Noah's work. I would look at all these people and I would just like, one fucking day, bro. One fucking day. But it's
gonna happen for me, man. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're gonna.
So God. Yeah. And then I'm gonna get a van and I'm gonna paint it. I'm gonna call it the Easy Bake Oven.
But
all we're gonna do is deliver pizzas.
No, but I mean, like at that point, it was just one of those things where I'm not the kind of person that wants to go to an art show. I'm not the kind of person that wants to go do a lot of things. I'm very introverted. And with that being said, like, you brought me out of my shell to go be like, hey man, look at, there's cool things here. There's stuff to do here. There's stuff to do there. And I mean,
it's finding inspiration in the world around you. That's where that's what frustrated me about you when I first met you. Is just like, hey, let's go to this. And you're like, fuck no.
Nah, I'm cool.
Like, hey dude, this band's playing. I know you like them. Let's go. And you're like, I don't go to a show if I don't have to pay, then I'll go. And I'm like, you son of a bitch.
No. That wasn't the case. I don't like going to shows, as far as like we're talking about music here. I don't like going to shows just because if I'm not doing something, then I don't feel adequate being there. Because genuinely myself, like I've never ever been to an actual concert of my own volition. I've gone and I've been part of them and I've helped them. I'm not saying I need to be on stage, but I mean, give me a stick back. Let me help somebody.
I'm not saying I want to be on stage, but I mean, this drummer's a piece of shit.
Right? Yeah. That guy fucking sucks dick. So if he's gonna fucking be up there, I could do it too, bro. No, I just like I always felt like crowds make me anxious. The first time I went to Disneyland was a fucking nightmare. Like I actually went in, and it was like I went in with my ex, and there's all these kids, and it was kind of like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where like you hear the movie song and everyone's happy, and I'm just kicking over trash cans in my mind because I'm like, God damn it, I just want to punch so many people. I get anxious. And
it's like Freddy takes over Manhattan, and it's like those breakdancers are there. It's like, oh yeah, having a good time, and all of a sudden Jason just walks through, kicks the fucking box.
But no,
Fuck your boombox.
It's
Fuck your couch.
They should have never given you niggas money. But no, I mean the first gallery show I've ever went to was Crayola's exhibit right off of Melrose.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember taking you to that.
And you took me there, and you were like, "Come on, dude, we're gonna go check it out." And I was legitimately like, wow, like I was dumbfounded by the art. I was dumbfounded by everything. But there was like 3 people in there, and that's the kind of person that, like, even till today, I don't like going anywhere. I love the fact that I work weekends, and Monday through Friday are like my weekend days. You know, I don't like to be around crowds, but as an artist, you know, I've seen and been around you long enough where you're like, come on, dude, you got to get out of your shell. You got to do this and break repetition. And I think that's a great, a lesson for a lot of artists, is that we all have our comfort zones, whether it be artistically or physically, but you have to break them and you have to try something different, because 90% of what I've done over the times, like right now, if you're watching the live stream or if you're seeing it later, on YouTube, you can see it, and it's like that's the room where he's sitting was where I was sitting, and was like, one day I'm gonna have I'm gonna do a Brushes of Doom, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and the constant hours of me just rambling, and you being like, yeah, dude, you can do it. Like, no matter how fed up you were with me talking about shit, you always were positive to be like, you know, dude, yeah, you got to work at it.
One day I'm gonna run away. I'm gonna join the circus. You watch me. I swear to God. Then I'm gonna get all the chicks.
They're all gonna wish I was here. But no, and
I'm pulling up to win.
Some of the pieces you've done as of recent, you know, like that was a big challenge for you, like learning oils. Talk about diving in from a like graphite and charcoal into a paint medium.
The paint medium. Okay. This was actually one night. The first time I ever worked on oils. I stopped and you know, hands on the table. Hands on the table. You, hands on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Right. I see you under the table. All right. Like from the first night, I actually when you first started to move on Monterey, like one of the first nights I actually came up and hung out with you. Morris. I forget his last name, but tell the listeners who we're talking about.
Morris, I've mentioned him a few times before, but Morris is basically the more Mexican version of Thomas. Just put a mustache over Thomas, and that's what you got. But he's my coworker who has also been not like a brother and a best friend as well. But he's the main dude that's like been a dick and a fucking savior on many occasions artistically, and legitimately probably one of the best artists I've known, hands down, tattoo and physically wise, but is never afraid to share.
Physically wise, he's the smallest person you know.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, next to my girlfriend.
I think the only reason why he appeals to you is because of the fact that, you know, he's a small child.
Yeah, he's got a really smooth body.
Basically, he's Robin to your Batman. But then again, he's Batman to your Robin. Which by
the way is the Lego Batman movie was fucking outstanding.
I bet. I mean, fucking hell, because what's his name as
Will Arnett.
As Batman? Will Arnett, yeah, as Batman.
I'm sorry, man, you were saying.
Oh, with oils that was the first night that I ever worked with oils, where I was trying to do like this whole screaming head under a sheet, and as much as it was like a challenge, because before this, like, you would just show me watercolors, or you would just show me, like, you know, just basic like color pencils, something like that, and I was, you know, I never ventured out into that. And then so that night, it was kind of an interesting adventure, so to speak, because we did because you did a baby skeleton, and then I did that, and then it was trying to like get like the shadows right, getting the texture right,
mm-hmm.
and I, you know, it was just a struggle more and more, trying to get this right, trying to get this to look like this. Where's the light coming from? Where are the shadows going? And and trying to not all trying to not waste the paint or keep the oils off, because again, starting to get all high off the fumes of the spirits.
You used to paint with your doors closed, and I remember I walked in one day and you were painting. I was visiting, and the waft of the terpenoid, and I was like, "Dude, are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah, I feel kind of sick." It's go put a fucking.
I think it's this painting that's really fucking me up here.
Yeah. Thomas, you're not even painting. You're on the ground. You're on the ground shaking.
Hips and nips, or I'm not eating. All right.
You too with the Harlem Shake. God damn it.
You came in, you say I was painting, but really I was playing drums on the trash can. This is not getting right, man.
Need 1,000 didgeridoos.
But from there, when I came home, I was like, I gotta do this. I gotta try and figure out this, because it's something that the masters have always done. It's something that that Da Vinci did. It's something that the old masters that it's the elements that they use to design their masterpieces. And I was like, you know what, I gotta try and do something like this. Let's try and learn this whole new medium. And one of the first pieces I did was a bleeding heart, and there was no texture, nothing onto it. There's no texture to it. It's still kind of just sitting on the back part of my room, and it was no texture, nothing to it. I tried to do and then after that I tried to do a flower, and I started going off. But one of the pieces that I did 3 pieces right now that actually taught me different techniques. The more and more I painted it, the more and more I went in, and the more and more I spent time with it. I learned all from kind of starting out to where I understand and I can elaborate a lot better on it. And those were the stretch room paintings that you actually can see over here. The stretch room, I only have 3 right now. I'm in the process of setting up the 4th one. But the stretch room paintings, I can sit here and I can look at them and I can see 3 different distinct pieces done 3 different ways. And looking at them, and I could see where I kind of learned, again, with texture study, with color overlays. I'm even hitting you up to talk with Morris on learning layering effects and washes with oil. Trying to learn those more and more. But with those three pieces, really kind of helped me kind of delve into the painting world with oil and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. With acrylic, and then after that I jumped back into another paint medium which was acrylic, and then that's because of Adam Padilla, because he paints in acrylic. And again, we all know that acrylic dries super fast, but sitting here and kind of going over on acrylic pieces, I knew that if I don't get this done today, I ain't gonna finish it. Mm. It's gonna sit for months. But delving deeper with acrylic as well, it kind of taught me better shadow structure and stuff like that. Lighting too, lighting wise, it taught me everything, because there's 3 clowns that I've painted in acrylic. That the one was Pennywise It, Twisty from American Horror Story, and then I did a Heath Ledger Joker, and all of those like pretty much took up a tube of white paint, which I was like, what the fuck? You know, I was like, because again, I didn't think it was gonna be that complicated of those complicated pieces, because I thought, okay, well, it's just white, just let's lay that down and then we can just paint the face. But it was learning like where you could go in and create like the smile lines, the laugh lines, the indentures on like Heath's chin, on Twisty, you like learning how the face, like at his bottom smile, how it has this shine to it because it's how it's plastic, but then like more of his face is like this powder, the white powder makeup.
To anyone that's wondering really quick of what character that is, that's the one from American Horror Story.
American Horror Story.
Yeah.
That's the Freak Show, the American Horror Freak Show. The other one is by far probably the most horrific one, and one that hangs over my bed is the Pennywise It, which is probably right about there if you're looking. I guess the only thing I could say is the only scary thing about what's his name?
Pennywise?
Yeah, who the actor?
Oh, Alan Rickman?
No, it's not Alan Rickman, dude.
It's not? Oh, God damn it, what the fuck is his name?
Why am I blanking on this? Because, again, it's such a big actor.
I always think of his stupid laugh. That smashing. Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, thank you. The only thing scarier than Tim Curry in clown makeup is Tim Curry without clown makeup. Like sitting there and painting that, learning how a technique that I learned in passing from Matt, from listening to Matt's podcast that he had with you and Jamie Sheen, Matt Hurtado.
Yeah.
Where he kind of elaborated on the idea of how a piece, a background piece should never be just this true black, because it doesn't allow it to keep it alive. If you do it too dark and it just dies, it just, there's nothing to it. If you have to keep it a little bit alive, learning how to kind of take red and like kind of wash it over this kind of auburn, like almost dark background, keeping this having him kind of delve into like the shadows, and learning how to do that with acrylic that dries in seconds. That was interesting enough too, and learning how to kind of make those eyes alive as well, and then and almost making it seem like he was gonna jump out of the paintings. Like that's what I wanted from it.
One of the people in the live chat said that they want to see the Pennywise.
They want me to grab it?
Yeah, why not? For anyone right now that's
sure.
Yeah, for anyone that's just listening, it's not actually watching this, I'll describe it to you in great detail of what it actually looks like. He's pulling up the painting right now. He's going to put it in front of us.
I can't believe this is like 3 years old too. So
it's already been 3 years?
It's 14.
And it looks like a giant piece of shit. So this is it is my favorite painting that you've done. And it's still
kind of getting washed out by the brightness of my computer screen. So
that's all good. I still
that looks like a piece of shit anyway.
Without the flash, it's still a piece of shit, Thomas. No, I still want to get that framed and put in my office.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Wow.
But it's like these eyes though, like, are always what I really wanted to elaborate on when I first started the piece. Like the eyes were the first thing that got done. And it kind of shamed me, the fact that I knew how to draw in eyebrows so well, being Hispanic.
I really like that piece. I mean, if anyone's curious, you can go onto his Instagram and you can see it at Art by Thomas Horta. But definitely, I love that piece because when you did it, it was just a nice transition of how you controlled all your lights and your
Yeah.
cools, you know, because it's not just all white. It's hard to see it on the screen itself, but if you see it in person, there is a great transition of the forehead all the way receding back to the hairline, and you used an extremely narrow value palette. You know, and for anyone that doesn't know what a narrow value palette is, it's like 4 or 5 colors of the same hue. So it would be like a white and a black and then the gray in between. And you executed it really well. And to this day, I've never gotten it back home with me. You son of a bitch. His vibrator's acting up.
Yes, it is. I have no clue what's going on here. There we go.
Brought to you by Grindr.
Yeah.
We're about at the tail end of this one, man. But I want to ask you personally, as artist to artist, friend to friend, what is probably your biggest aspiration in the next few years? Not the end goal, but like I've seen you try to delve into, especially living so close to the LA life and the and always being well informed. Like you're the guy. If anyone wants to hit him up and just see like the knowledge this dude has, like I'm a nerd when it comes to technical stuff, but like you know so much about movies, about artists, about events, and I genuinely believe like you're one of America's greatest resources. But
I'm really a national treasure.
yeah, I'm not. I'm more of a national treasure protector.
More of a treasure protector.
Treasure protector. But I know that you're kind of feeling it out right now. You know where you want to fall in the line of career and so forth. So, to those that kind of don't know where they want to be or are kind of delving between 3 or 4 options, I mean, to hear another artist in that position, where do you feel that you're kind of driving the boat so far right now?
Where am I taking this?
Yeah.
Taking this ship into the rocks, I swear to God. I'm gonna take over the fucking Flying Dutchman and I'm fucking Matt, to be honest, I want to do something with my education more or less. Like as much as I love painting, as much as I love art and stuff like that, doing websites and doing graphic design, I think I'm gonna start elaborating on that more because I love painting. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But you know, it's right now because of the fact that I'm finishing up school. Using my education is a path that I have never found myself on.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like right now, in the next 5 years or so, it's probably the main thing that I'm gonna probably do. But I will probably find myself, coming back here and painting, trying to see how I can paint full time, trying to see how I could how design full time, because designing logos, stuff like that, that's what I learned through school, and that's something that's fun to do. And so, with that being said, I think I would probably wind up doing that in the next few years, just trying to see where it takes me, just trying to see like, what's gonna happen, and hope for the best. I mean, because again, I've never been in this position where there's a little bit more going for me than I had, because I've always kind of jumped from rock to rock, and now there's a multitude of rocks that I can jump towards, like where my education, art, staying where I am right now, because I've been presented with a better opportunity with the city of Los Angeles. I can even do graphic design with them, because I found their department is just, I have to move up a little bit. Um, again, it's just in the next 5 years, it's going to be something to watch out for because there's so much to take on. There's so much I could take on. There's so much I can do, much more I can do.
That's great, man. That's really good. I mean, there's some artists that feel that they probably can't, or more importantly, probably don't want to do full time painting or full time sketching.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, but I mean, that's a gift. That's a gift in itself.
mhm.
But with full time painting, I I would love to be a full time painter, but I can't I can't just settle down yet
Mhm.
like that. I had to see much more beyond this and beyond that. I can't let because I mean I love doing commissions and I love doing things for other people because again it's so much fun. But I guess learning the corporate world a little bit, I want to try and see if I can navigate it. Um, just to see like where it takes me from there. And yeah, being a full time painter is probably something I will probably fall I will come back to and be want to be a part of. But right now, I think because of my education wise that I'm going to be receiving the next month, um, probably makes me want to elaborate on that just a little bit, try to see what it does.
That's good, man. That's definitely good. I mean, we have Christopher. I can't ever remember his last name. God damn it! But he's the main director and storyboard artist for WB Animation for the
Mm-hmm.
DC comic movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been speaking off and on, and he said the same thing. He was like, everybody wanted him to do comic books, and he was like, nah, he stuck to going to he went to some school out in the East Coast, but it was basically like the Arts Institute,
Yeah,
and he went
arts like the art center or something like that.
art center, something like that, and he went out there and he just kept going and going and going, and um, eventually was just like I fell into a job that put me in it qualified me to be in a position where I was able to oversee the business inside I had, but adapt my artistic skills when needed and necessary. So that's great, man. I'm genuinely, as a friend, I'm proud of you, man. I'm glad of what you do. I'm glad for you. I'm always inspired by what you do, and it's funny because like the stupid shit we talk about, the stupid shit we've done,
Mm-hmm.
and hanging out, it's like it's never dull when it's being around you. And I hope more people can appreciate, like if you have a friend like Thomas is to me, or a brother in this case, um, that has the honesty to tell you how it is, and also kind of just be one of those people to say, you know what, you need to do this, or hey, fuck it, like what's the best you lose, like to put it in a relevant term, like as of recent, um, if you guys haven't seen me on the live feeds, I have been fortunate enough to be doing I'll be hosting another podcast for World of Pencils, very popular page on Instagram and also business going around. But um, you fucking faces. Um, but it's a great opportunity, and I asked Thomas. He was literally the only person I genuinely asked besides my girlfriend, who practically are one and the same sometimes. Um, and I asked him, I was like,
When you say girlfriend, do you mean boyfriend?
no,
I've,
no.
I've, I've met her. I've met her.
I told dude, I get so many chicks. Like, I mean, I've touched boobs, but the thing
When I
is,
feel like a bag of sand.
I got friends that are gay in prison. It's cool. No, but I literally had a big decision to make on how this is going to be a big thing. It allows me to travel more. It allows me to do more things, and it's no different than when I was down there, and when I ended up moving back up this way. And I've always had that one friend that I could always get a second opinion on, and as well as almost a confidant. And Thomas is that person. He's somebody that knows art, knows his shit, and as well as just as a good guy. Um, so like I said, it's the whole idea is like we never know what the fuck we're really doing. We have no idea how life's gonna pan out. Sometimes it's risks. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you're doing in the next few years, man. And I'm also very proud of you for what you've done. And I thank you for being on the podcast today, dude.
No problem, buddy.
One thing I am doing now on the podcast, just because to break apart the world.
Don't lie. You're stripping. You're stripping.
Yeah. But that's for exclusive members. On Patreon. On Patreon.
They got paid.
Yeah, on Patreon.
Big girls need love too, but they got paid.
I can't stand Patreon, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to differentiate, because World of Pencils will be more about who the artist is, and talking to them, as to where Brushes of Doom has always been more of a techniques thing. This was kind of like a special episode just to have Thomas on here, talk about who he is, get to know his work. If you're interested in commissions, if you're interested in any of his actual design work as well, great dude to just know in general. But also, if you want to talk movies with him, he's a fucking master at movie references. But I want to know, what is one book, what is one artist, and one movie that you would have to recommend artistically?
Showgirls across the board.
All right, sweet. All right, everybody. Good night. No, one book that you is kind of one of your favorites as far as like artistically. I recently got the Megamind one, collective art from DreamWorks, and I'm in fucking love with it. What is a book that you could recommend to anyone out there for whatever purpose? He's waddling in a chair towards his bookcase. He's too fat to get out of it. Now he's coming all the way back, putting on the headphones. He disgraces me.
The Art of DreamWorks.
Ah, nice. What?
This big ass fucking book that I spent too much money on.
How much was it?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to get that book.
It was probably the price of where you wish it was a gift kind of thing.
You bought me one of my very first art books.
The Pirates of the Caribbean one?
Yep, still have that
one.
What?
Well, I mean, I'm jealous that I gave you that because I can't find it again.
Oh, well,
I probably can.
It's okay.
Fuck you.
Sucks to be you. Yeah, I feel no pity for you. What? Tell us.
But I knew that book would actually be an asset to you as much as it was for me. You know.
Tell people about the book a little bit.
About the book?
Yeah, just if they're interested. You know, it is an audio podcast, you dumbass.
As opposed to being centered around one movie, it actually talks about How to Train Your Dragon, and it teaches you a bunch of more or less like the whole landscape design for kingdoms that they would have in most of the movies. So I mean, you're learning much more about like background and layout design. Like for Shrek, the third one of they're showing you like the setups that they would have for like a fire and stuff like that. Mm. So I mean, you're learning much more of the background as much as it is character design.
Storyboard art.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's see. One album or like something that you have to paint to, or you can paint to, or whatever.
Let me check my. Have to. There's a have to everything.
Showgirl soundtrack.
Probably. I've been really listening to Hippie Sabotage a lot.
Hippie Sabotage?
Hippie Sabotage. That's their album, Sunny, the Sunny EP. Mm-hmm. As well as Tove Lo. They've also done collaborations with Hippie Sabotage as well.
Nice. So yeah, Hippie Savage and Tove Lo.
Yeah, so it's just really easy listening things. I don't really, kind of do things with like a lot of emotions behind it, because I just, I kind of wanted to stimulate I wanted to stimulate my brain and keep me focused here, as opposed to thinking about
Other
Oh,
things.
what homework I haven't done, or what which cat hasn't eaten, who's being a dick, kind of thing. Um, yeah, more or less it's just keeping me like stimulated back here and keeping me focused here. I mean, that's the whole reason why I bought one of those. What is it? Those tri spinners, just
I
so I could
saw
sit there.
that. What the fuck is that thing?
It's basically a fidget toy. It's basically a fidget toy. Like they have like the little switches ones that have a box on them,
That's what Pornhub's
and they have
for.
yeah. And so I bought one just so I could sit through. Yeah, instead of playing with my dick in class. Like,
Mr.
uh,
Horta, put that thing away. It's a fidget toy.
it's like that one character in what is it? Sons of Anarchy that just kind of whenever he gets nervous plays with his dick, and the Asian people, the Asian mafia took his hands. Um, yeah, it's just something that sits through lectures that kind of like I could play with, as opposed because again I can't listen through music in a lecture, so I just sit there with my tri spinner, and I can focus on that and focus on the lecture. Um,
And lastly, a
but yeah,
movie.
but yes, Hippie Sabotage and Tovlo would be the two major musics that I probably paint to.
I think the hardest one for you would be a movie. Something that you have, because everybody always has their white noise, and I know you watch an immense amount of movies. So what's one movie you don't mind ever having on while you're painting?
Tron Legacy. Tron Legacy is probably the one that I will always go back to when it comes to maybe like coding, doing graphic design, painting, because again it's Daft Punk, and it's just the looking at it through a musician's eye. It's the same song, just played in different tones or different times. So it keeps its pace. It keeps the pace of everything that's going on. And again, I know that having that movie as my white noise is I know that movie word for word, and I know what scenes are going on, and I don't even have to look at it. But I could sit there and I could actually like just have that as like a background to probably any project that I've ever done.
Nice. All right. Well, for anyone that wants to find your stuff, Thomas, where can they find you?
If any, find me on Instagram. In the next month or two, I will be posting my personal website, which will actually be highlighting my graphic and layout design skills from website design. I'll also be having a link to my Etsy added to that, which also there's an Etsy link on my Instagram. If anybody's interested in buying art, you can also hit me up on Instagram at art by Thomas. Damn it! Why am I forgetting my own Instagram? I don't contact myself.
Great job.
There we go. It's like knowing your own phone number. Art by Thomas Horta is my Instagram, and then from there you can contact me in regards to concept designs, maybe even logo and layout designs as well.
Nice. Thomas, as always, brother, I know we're going to keep talking after this anyway, but thank you for being here, dude. Thank you for always supporting me, and also for being the douchebag that was like, that's not fucking Brushes of Doom. That's fucking Brushes of Doom. I went to school.
That's not how you paint a dick. This is how you paint a dick.
Well, hey, that's a portrait of me. All right, man.
We're the only people that'll be at a party when everyone gets drunk and actually traces the dick on the face, as opposed to just drawing a dick.
You're the one who took the time and made it nice and veiny. Was that Tiananmen Square? Wow.
This big, veiny, triumphant bastard.
Well, to everyone out there,
looks at my lunch pail and find this dick treasure trove.
Well,
you hit Becca's foot with your dick.
To everyone that's listening right now, if you want to find Thomas, I'll put up a link to all his stuff on the website. As always, you can find all the podcasts. If you're not on iTunes, you can find them there for free on BrushesofDoom.com. Look out for his Etsy page. Anything to pick up for a commission and or opinion that he has. Any prints, he has some beautiful stuff up there for anyone that physically hasn't seen it on the live stream. And as always, you can catch us here at BrushesofDoom.com, BrushesofDoom on Instagram. And yeah, we will see you later. Thanks, Thomas.
No problem, buddy. Live from New York, it's Saturday night! Are we gone?
The live stream's still going.